So, as you might notice, changes are afoot. No longer do we have the Joycaster part of the video into our intros because, well, they no longer exist, actually, I found out. But anyways, with that being said, we have another episode of Mission Start Podcast. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Bianis. And joining me this week is none other than the returning voice of the coughing voice.
Oh, sorry, that was weird. Hi, everybody. I am live from luxurious Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yep. Greg is in the East Coast. He went to go to MagFest thanks to the guys at what was it? Heat. What's the acronym?
Empty. It's Heat. You had it right, but it's Half Empty Energy Tank. They flew me out because I've been a member of their team. I've actually talked about this a couple times on the podcast where I'm streaming tonight, which I'm streaming tonight on Heat. So, yeah, the MagFest is it's a pretty big convention. At least it's gaining a lot more attention now. This was the first year they ever sold out.
Oh wow, nice. That's crazy.
And I'm trying to think of how to say this correctly. Half Empty does a charity event there every year called the Mega Man-a-thon, where we play 72 hours of Mega Man games for Child's Play charity. This year we raised $5,100, which is $1,000 more than we did last year. And yeah, that's it. I've been a member of Heat for about a year, little over a year now. But I've been watching them since Mega Man-a-thon 2. If you don't know what we do, we're a group of streamers, variety streamers. We each have our own specific night of the week that we stream something, and we play different games. The idea is to be a variety channel. That every night that you tune in, it's something different. It's not the same thing every time. It's not the same guy every time. And if you're into variety, definitely come and tune in. We have in May, we have the Sonic Spring Fling coming up, which is they're going to be playing 24 hours of Sonic games for the Wildlife Foundation.
Sick. Or
the World Wildlife Foundation. And then, of course, we do Extra Life as well, which happens way later in the year. But Mega Man-a-thon being our biggest one and being a live event at MagFest, they wanted to make sure that I was there live because I couldn't go last year. So, but the only reason that I'm actually still in the South, that I'm still in North Carolina, and by the way, MagFest is not in North Carolina, it's in Maryland, National Harbor, Maryland. Mm-hmm. But most of the Heat team lives in Raleigh, so.
I see.
But yeah. I've been.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say I've been very lucky to have this opportunity, and it's been fun for the most part hanging out here. Funny enough, right as I got here, basically Brian got a promotion at his job, meaning that he had to be there more hours than not. Mm-hmm. So instead of being able to film all the stuff that he wanted to film, we now have to kind of figure out exactly what time to do things, and so there's probably something that's not going to get filmed. But that's fine. Whatever. Not a big deal. I'll be coming back to California on the 23rd, so not only this episode, but next episode I will also be in North Carolina. But if you ever get the chance to come to the South, I highly recommend eating as much of the Southern food as you can because it is really good.
Yeah, I've heard great stories about that.
In California, you can't get a good biscuit at a fast food joint. The closest you might get to a decent biscuit is maybe like Church's chicken or Popeye's chicken, but still, they don't make it with butter. There's a place here in Raleigh that makes that's a fast food joint called Bojangles. Or Bojangles, I keep saying it wrong. Also, people call it Bojangles because they think it's funny. But they actually make their biscuits with buttermilk and butter, and they're really, really good biscuits. However, Bojangles is like a southern joint completely. Also, something that I got to try over here that we don't have on the West Coast at all is a place called Cookout. If I could compare Cookout to anything, I would compare it to In-N-Out. This is because Cookout makes all of their burgers like they actually shape their patties themselves. They don't have it frozen.
Sick.
And all their food is cooked very classically Southern. And their entire menu, you know how like In-N-Out's menu is like most of it's hidden? You could say almost all of it's hidden. Cookout does not have this. Their entire menu is out in the open, and it's huge. But like you go there and you're like, all right, so I'm gonna get the Cookout meal with the burger and cheese, which is their classic. And then you go like look up at the sides and you get 3 of those motherfuckers. You get 3 sides. I usually get hush puppies because everyone loves fried bread.
That's so cool.
And then they have a slew of milk and flavoring mixed together to make a thick concoction that I can't think of the name of suddenly.
Wow.
Like I want to say smoothie, but that's not correct. It's a not an icy. Like if you took milk and ice cream and blended it together to make a thing. I can't think of the name of it suddenly. Anyway, they have a ton of those, and they're really, really good. So yeah, like if you ever hear an East Coaster complain that they don't have In-N-Out over there, just immediately be like, yeah, we don't have Cookout. So enjoy your Cookout.
Right. Definitely.
But yeah, it's been an experience. I got to go to Washington D.C. Right after MagFest, which was awe-inspiring, to be honest.
Nice.
I got to go up to right up to the Washington Monument, and that thing's bigger than you think. That thing is way bigger than you think.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been there before. The Washington Monument is pretty big. Like I think it goes on for miles.
It's nuts. I did the thing that a lot of people do apparently, and that's lay down in front of it and put your feet on the end, or like put your feet on it, to make it look like you could walk up it, and it's insane. I got to check out the newish, and I say newish because I guess it was built like a bunch of years ago, but it's still new in comparison to everything else that's there.
Right.
The World War II monument, or
Yes, yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot of cool stuff in DC. I've been there before. It's
the Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial is way bigger than you think too.
Yeah, that too. The one thing I do not miss about DC that the humidity that it can get. It's very humid at DC.
Yes. Something that I kind of wasn't expecting when being over here in the South was that when I play games, my hands sweat so much easier. And when I was talking to Brian, and I was just like, there's something like I don't understand it, but my palms just constantly are sweating. And he's like, that's just the humidity in the South, man. That's just what it is. Like, it wasn't just DC; it was like everywhere I went in the South so far. I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's just so humid. But yeah, I don't know, it's been very fun, very different than what I was expecting. Brian and Brittany did take me to a part of the South or part of North Carolina where it's more the rural area of North Carolina.
Right.
That's one of the jokes I kept making is since they live in Raleigh, I keep seeing Bernie stickers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was a little surprised by that. I was like, that's interesting. Like, I didn't expect to see any kind of support in Bernie's camp over here. And Brian jokingly was like, "Don't worry, we'll take you to this one part of North Carolina, and I'll show you all the Trump stickers." And it's not as bad as he was joking it to be, but yeah, the billboards are hilarious, man. Like, we saw one that was pro-life, and it was like it was a Disney princess holding a baby.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a couple that were just like my favorite one though had nothing to do with anything religious. It was a car dealership, Cox Toyota, COX, and I swear to God, their slogan was, "We don't put." Or you don't put yourself in a car. Cox puts one in you, or something like that. It was totally like way too easy euphemism, and I'm like, whoa, my God, guys, come on! I have to see what you're doing. It was so funny.
Welcome to the South. That's hilarious and awesome. Cool.
Yep.
Well, enjoy your time again in the East Coast. Enjoy everything there, because when you come back to California, all you've been missing is just been raining over here. It's been raining
Actually,
on and off.
It's really funny because it rained one time. Like, it kind of rained when I got here, and then it hasn't rained since I've been here, except for one rain. And I say one rain in regards like it rained for 2 days, but it was one whole rain.
Right.
The other thing was it's been actually kind of warm and dry over here, and that really confuses me, considering that it's been like raining in California, and I hear that like the Folsom Lake is 75% full, and I'm like, am I the problem? Am I just like jinxing California?
Possibly. I mean, maybe you are the problem. Maybe because you left, we have more water. I don't know.
I'll just go to Florida then and stay there.
Dude, Florida's worse.
That's my point. Is like, I can't make it like worse.
Right. Yeah, but that's cool though. Good stuff.
Yep.
But we are not here to talk about the East Coast weather and politics. We're here to talk about video games, damn it. And we're gonna do that today. So, as usual, we got a number of topics to talk about today. And let's begin. Let's begin with Microsoft, because this is something I actually wanted to ask you last week if you weren't here. So I was curious. Did you catch or did you hear about what Phil Spencer's been saying recently about the future of Xbox One and the?
I caught the headline of an article that was kind of talking about it, but I don't know what that was about.
Okay. So for the past week, Phil Spencer at a press event kind of, in a way, not announced, but like pretty much explained that his theory about future consoles should not have to buy a new console to upgrade the console itself. That we want to. I see in the future that games and consoles will be upgraded, virtually online or some sort of capacity that way. But he was pretty vague in terms of how was that going to happen and the details about it. But then let's do speculation. So it's like, what exactly is he talking about? What exactly is he aiming at? One of the things that came out of it was that there is a connection that they're trying to do with Windows 10, because they're rebooting games for Windows Live, and we know how that went last time. So this time around, from what I've read, and I have some articles kind of him clarifying some stuff as well. Is that from his comments, it made it sound like you're going to consoleize the PC market, and people were not quite as not quite on board as that. I think even the guy from not Cliffy B, but like somebody else in it was pretty shocked by the news and like wrote an entire article about it. But that's been happening the past week while you were gone.
I think the problem is that too many people have expectations for what they want in their video games, and this is absolutely including what people want in terms of sorry, I'm trying to word this correctly. In terms of what they want with their console, the problem that I'm seeing right here is that a lot of people are assuming what he's saying instead of taking it for face value. If what he's saying I can kind of make a spin into a positive thing, is he's basically trying to say that he doesn't see it necessary to release a console that has a lifespan of 5 to 10 years and then release another console. The world's not going that direction. What he'd rather do is release the next Xbox that has expandable, upgradable stuff. So you go, hey, I bought the new Xbox 850, I don't fucking know. Xbox 4 is what I'm going to call it, just to clear that up. And in a year's time, he's like, hey, so we have an expandable motherboard. Like, it's a brand new one. It like has this kind of processor and blah 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 blah. And we're making games for it, but it's not like if you buy it, you'll just have the newest thing. But if you don't buy it, you'll still be able to use your console. I feel that's the route that he's going. Basically, what Valve wanted to do with the Valve box. And now, what we have seen is Microsoft tried to do something Valve does, and it failed miserably. So maybe it's not the best idea to do this now, but I see what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I see where he's going with this.
I was going to say, the thing that was brought up, that people were... Because I do believe that Microsoft will clear this up more around E3. Because some of the things that... Because of the vagueness of what he was saying out there about this idea about the future of Xbox One, many came to believe that is this going to be like an Apple thing? Like is Microsoft going to bring out like a new SKU of the console every other year, or like do you need to upgrade the firmware from Xbox 1.0 to 1.5?
I doubt you're gonna need to upgrade anything. Like that's the point I'm making is like think about when a new console comes out, right? Mm-hmm. How long into that new console's lifespan do they keep releasing games for the previous generation? And if we're talking about Microsoft, they still are. Mm-hmm. So I doubt significantly that you're going to have to buy anything. Mm-hmm. That you'll still be able to play the new games on the new console, regardless you have the upgradable stuff.
Right. I'm going to read this quote real quick. This is actually from GameInformer.com. Phil Spencer says, mods for console upgrades is not our plan. And I'll forget like the quote he said. Here's a quote. The feedback I receive about, hey man, I'm going to break open my console and start upgrading individual features of my console. That's not our plan, he said. That is something special with that, with what happens with a console. You buy an appliance like the device, you plug it into TV, and it works out when you plug it in. It's not like I'm going to ship you a screwdriver instead of every console that comes out. During the talk at the Xbox showcase, Spencer pointed out Sony's incorporation of virtual reality into its hardware cycle. As an example, he reiterated the basic thrust in speaking on the podcast. What I'm saying is that the hardware innovation happens. We want to be able to embrace those in the console space and make those available, and maybe not have to wait 7 to 8 years for that to happen. Spencer explained, it took nearly a week to clear the air as Microsoft was unwilling to clarify the statements when we spoke to them in the follow-up week. And you can read the entire article on GameInformer.com.
Okay, so I see where his concern is. His concern is literally what most people are going to say who don't want change, and that's, I don't want my new console to be shipped with a screwdriver and me having to do things to upgrade it. Well, tough titties. Tough fucking titties. Learn to adapt. You sit there, or he sits there and says, a console is supposed to ship and work right out the box. You plug and play, essentially. And you can still do that and have it upgradable. It's not like they're going to build the console to be, like, it'll basically be a layman's computer. It'll come with, like, an instruction set. It'll be very simple to install things and get them to work. And I'm pretty sure, just throwing this out there, but if you elect to have this console that upgrades, there will be like Microsoft instructional things. What Microsoft has to put into play, and something that I don't think a lot of people are considering, is if they do this, they have to understand that the console market, the console gamers out there, do not understand installing components into PCs. They just don't understand it. Not all, of course, this is not an absolute, but the majority of console users don't know how to use a PC past, point and click. So I feel that if Microsoft does go this route, and a lot of people just aren't going to think of this, they're going to have things in place that are going to make it very, 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 very simple and not complicated, and a lot cheaper on you in the long run. Would you rather spend $400, $500 on a brand new console that could possibly break while you have it, or would you rather spend $200 on a brand new console and then in a year's time $100 on an update?
The interesting thing about this whole thing is that Phil Spencer even went out to say that consoles are like PCs, and it's now the expectation of like having the consumer upgrade the console manually via taking out this card or put in a new one, it may be asking a bit much, but at the same time, we kind of already been doing this with other peripherals with other consoles already. So having one extra thing added to upgrading it, I don't think would be much of a problem. One of the things that was also brought up during this conversation, because recently Quantum Break was announced for PC as well as Xbox One. Now, there is, like, people are kind of wondering, and this has not only been Microsoft, but also Sony as well. Like, games are going multi-platform. Some of these games are not a console exclusive as they used to be, and that is something that is going away, and it's more of these companies going multi-platform to sell more copies to get more money. Microsoft Xbox One and Sony, and I'll put in Sony PS4 as well. There isn't much of an incentive to have those consoles if you're looking for exclusives specifically. Right now, you can get the best version. If you wanted the best version, you get the PC version. If you don't particularly care, you can still get the game for whatever console you have. It doesn't matter. But people or gamers were pretty mad the fact that Quantum Break was going to PC as well as Xbox One, only for the fact they were trying to find a reason, a valid reason to have bought an Xbox One for games that are coming only to their platform, which I find dumb. But yeah, like these games or these companies are making it less of a thing for people to really keep to one console, particularly for console exclusives, or to kind of tout that Xbox or PS4 flag.
I think that Phil Spencer is correct. I was talking to Brian here the other day about consoles, and he doesn't really care about half or more than half the stuff that comes out on the Xbox One, because to him, gaming is he barely likes multiplayer games, is what I'm getting at. And he really enjoys companies that take chances and put new things out there. So to him, the console of choice right now is the Wii U. And I had made a comment that with the NX, that Nintendo's going to have to upgrade their graphical output, because they're going to have to join the other consoles. Like right now, Nintendo is still kind of keeping their head above water,
right?
But they're not making money like they were, and I know that ultimately they want to make money. If they want to make money, they need to appeal to that crowd. They need to appeal to that audience. Now, Brian does make a point that it's nicer to have a console that's like kind of lacking in the graphical department because it makes it cheaper. Like that's why it's $250 instead of $400 like everything else.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what does Nintendo want?
Right.
And the only reason I mention that in this particular context is, people want a cheaper console, but still have it be up to date and modern. And I feel like the only way to properly do that is one of two ways. Release a console every 5 years, so that way by the time the console is on its way out, it's not stagnant with graphics.
Right.
Or do what Phil Spencer wants.
What's funny?
And
sorry, go ahead.
I would say, and if we do what Phil Spencer wants, or what he believes is the future, then they will get cheaper. They will be cheaper in the long run.
So what's funny is about this was a conversation that was brought up was it at least 5 years ago. There's this conversation of a one console future. Are we going to go into a route where say that Microsoft and Sony teamed up and to make one super console, and it was a one console future where there's only one console for everything, and game companies can make for it in the same platform and there'll be no issue. Talks that look back then were even apparent. It's just kind of funny that these talks are coming back again to possibly maybe something that may happen in the future, especially what Phil Spencer is going for. I think, and I shared my piece about it a week ago. I think that there's definitely some more clarification needs to be had. E3 is going to be big. It's going to be a very strange weekend for E3.
Yeah.
So definitely. With that aside, and the continuing noise from.
Sorry, that was. Well, what noise was it, by the way?
You just I think it's just your movement. It's just I hear a bunch of rustling sounds.
Yeah, sorry, I was adjusting myself on the couch.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's because Hutch just walked through the house, and he is a heavy walker.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure if it was that or me kind of using my arm that's holding the phone to adjust myself.
Gotcha. Adjust yourself, quote. All right. So moving on to the next story, we're gonna go from Phil Spencer to, speaking of E3. Now E3, in the past couple of years, you and I watch it, religiously. One of the biggest, not the biggest, event in the video game industry. Game companies come together to show up to new games. They have these big press conferences announcing, hardware and games and so on.
Yeah.
But recently, there has been some big companies who have been actually getting out of the E3 event and realizing that they themselves can host their own events and direct it toward their company and their games. Recently, EA backed out of E3 this year. Activision, Disney is another few that backed out as well. And these companies hold huge booths at E3 every year. So recently there have been more and more companies who've been backing out of E3 to possibly do their own thing or make announcements via online. So many people will start to question, is E3 gonna be not a thing in a few years? Is this potentially the last of E3 we'll ever see? And my thoughts about it is like, I think E3, yeah, I do think because of where the technology is right now, and how you can spread the news about your game via internet, or you have your own event or your own press conference for that matter. I think that E3 might be going out the window in 5 years. There's an article on Wired.com that talks more about this, calling it's the end of E3 as we know it by Chris Kohler. You guys check it out on Wired.com. I'll read a brief. Let's see if I can get like a short paragraph. Here we go. I'll do like first two. So the first two paragraphs says, "What has happened is E3. Oh, don't worry, it's just dying. A few months until this year's E3 Expo, the same industry annual gala trade show in Los Angeles, and several major exhibitors have said thanks. No, we won't be there. Electronic Arts was first to go, deciding to give up its primo space E3 in favor of an event called ePlay, which will be held across the street and open to all." And you can read the entire article on Wired.com. But yeah,
well, there's two factors you have to put into play here that I think are very interesting, and that's who are these companies trying to market to? Are they trying to market to the 4,200 that are allowed in? Mm-hmm. Or are they trying to market to the millions watching at home? Mm-hmm. We've talked about how PAX Prime was starting to be called the E3 for everybody. And this has been a thing that's happening more and more often. Now, that being said, as it's clearly going to happen, I think we're both on that same boat that E3's dying.
Yes.
But I still like the idea of an all-encompassing Super Bowl for video games sort of thing every year. Mm-hmm. I really, really enjoy that idea. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the idea that this is when the companies get together and they kind of announce everything and it's a big spectacle for a whole week. I love that. If that goes away, oh well, so be it. I'm going to be sad about it because I love it so much. But much like what I was saying in the last topic, you have to adapt. You kind of have to move on with things. You have to understand that the world is going to change, and if having giant press conferences that are live and could fuck up at any moment is really dangerous nowadays.
Yeah. Not to mention that there's a lot of money involved in having these big booths or these big presentations at E3.
Yeah.
It's not cheap at all. Oh man. One of the things that I grew up watching E3 for a very long time. I remember the days where it was literally a circus where you had blaring lights, just music blasting in the hallways at E3, and people were just wanting any space they can get to get an E3 to show off their products. And that's when a lot of people, media and non-media, were able to sneak in and get swag of just useless stuff. And celebrities would go in. It was a really crazy event, and it's one of those things I grew up man, that was pretty cool. But over years, it definitely has changed, and now it's at a point to where I still get excited for press conferences. I still get excited for people who go and who attend, and awesome, be excited for a game that's going to be announced or whatnot.
Well,
yeah.
I think that the big companies are still going to have conferences around that time of the year. Mm-hmm. They're still going to try and have big announcements around that time of the year. The difference is that they might overlap. Before, everything was being sanctioned by one group, and it was all being planned out just perfectly, and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But now, half these companies are gonna say fuck it. And I think Nintendo is the only company to have gotten it right. Just saw the writing on the wall and was like, we're going to do our own thing, and it's going to be completely scripted, completely filmed and edited. That's brilliant.
Yes. You're totally right. Nintendo is the first one, I believe, to go in that way, and it has done, I wouldn't say wonders, but it's a much better idea than what they're doing right now, that companies doing right now with the press conferences. Not to say that that's not a not an effective way. I think in the long run, I think Nintendo is definitely on the right track when it comes to their Nintendo Directs. They can showcase their games. They can be more personal with their audience, and they can release the video, at this right time, which it costs them less money to do, and saves them a big chunk of change for whatever E3 they go to. So yeah, like it definitely Nintendo's definitely on the ball when it comes to that. Now, will that be something where other companies probably end up doing? I can see that happening, no doubt. Is this going to be a trend? Yes, I do agree on that too. So yeah, I think that it's sad to say it, but yeah, I think E3 is going to be dead. Sad to say it, but yeah. So
yeah, I don't know how much longer it has, but its lifeline is slowly being snuffed out.
Yep. So yeah, you heard it first. E3 dead in 5 years.
I don't know that I said that, but I mean,
I did. How long do you think it's going to be around for?
It'll be around for a lot longer than 5 years, I'd say. As long as there's millions of people still willing to watch, there'll still be something to show at E3. And regardless of big companies opting out, doesn't mean that the smaller companies will opt in.
True, very true.
But it all depends on if people are willing to watch. If Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo are like, okay, Activision, okay, EA, okay, Ubisoft, you don't want to do this anymore. Well, you weren't originally doing it in the first place, and we're still going to do it.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
Very true. When one company goes out, one other company comes in. Okay. I was gonna say something, but I totally lost train of thought. But yeah, we'll definitely see how long it's. Oh, that's right. I will bet you $5 bison that Microsoft.
$5 bison? What the fuck are you talking about?
Monopoly money. We'll see. We'll see in the future when exactly E3 will be cease. So, I mean, I hope it'll be around for a lot longer, but we'll definitely see. But speaking of Sony, this past week, do I have that on here actually? Oh, I gotta put it in. Okay. Sony paying back. So, Sony recently announced that they are paying back for the breach that was in 2011, the PSN breach.
Yeah.
That was, and for those of you who don't remember, in 2011, Sony's PSN was breached by, I can't remember what the group was called, but there were a group of hackers that hacked into PSN and multiple accounts. When I mean multiple, I mean like, what was it? Not hundreds, but thousands of accounts were exposed.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous amount.
And so it was a huge kerfuffle. People were pretty upset, and Sony kind of went out there. I believe that following year during E3, and basically said that we're sorry for what happened. So fast forward to this past week, Sony is just now sending out compensation codes for that time. So, and this is on GameInformer.com as well. But just to clarify, a strange email popped, and this is the person who wrote it, who was let me get the author's name, Mike Futter. He wrote, a strange email popped in my inbox last week. It was a note about PSN breach. Yes, that one happened in 2011, and a code for a PlayStation 3 title, The Puppeteer. After almost 5 years, Sony is now dishing out codes for games. If you claimed as part of the Welcome Back program that's originally offered when the servers came back online, you could pick from one game. If you didn't download any of those, you can get 2. And the email says, Dear claimant, your Sony PlayStation Network PSN claim from related to
Greetings, people of March 2010. Kevin Butler here, coming to you from the future. That's right, all the way from November.
Your request for the following benefits has been approved.
Let me tell you, future's crazy.
Your approved
we all eat our food through
PSN
straws.
accounts.
And we're all still reeling from the
these,
shocking end of the baseball season. That's right, Kansas City in 6. So
but could be other
call
games
your
as well
bookie.
to put it in
And
as
of
well.
course, the arrival of the
More
future of
instructions,
gaming,
regarding the use
PlayStation
of the
Move,
voucher
which has
code
been an
is
incredible
above. Please
success.
visit
So thank you.
PlayStation.com redemption.
This thing's about as futuristic or now-aristic
yeah, so
as it
this
gets.
settlement was
You've
finally
got the
approved in
controller and
July
the camera with
2014.
microphones working together to give you total
and
control over your gaming
choose the
experience.
conversation game
Not just
in
like
January
this,
2015.
but this way
It
too.
took them 13 months.
Because real
to iron
boxers
out
don't
the
hit like this.
distribution as well as
Plus, PlayStation
so-
Move's not only crazy precise, it's also got
Here's
what
the
we in
thing.
the future call buttons, which turn out to be pretty important
Now-
to those handful of millions of people who
say,
enjoy playing shooters, platformers, or, well,
that was a
anything
bad
that doesn't
time.
involve
No,
catching
don't,
a big
don't
red
get me wrong.
ball.
That was a very bad
So,
time when Sony was
come on. Who wants to
breached.
pretend their hand is a gun? What is this, third?
Oh, sorry.
Right.
As you can see, the PlayStation Move allows us to immerse players in a game
I
like
was
never
gonna
before.
say. I was gonna say. Yeah, it was a bad time for Sony. It was the big breach was pretty awful, and it's only what 2016 now. This happened 2011. 5 years later, they managed to get these game codes out as compensation. Now, you can argue a case that maybe that was the least they can offer for what happened. I don't know. That is an either or situation. I mean, it's something. I mean, Sony's offering something as compensation for what happened. I'm not quite sure if it's if it's enough. I'm not quite sure if it was justified, with a game or two. But I don't know. What do you think, Greg? Like, do you think this is enough to satisfy the anger that was 5 years ago?
I think it's fine. I mean, you got to put in perspective that Sony didn't plan for this shit. Like, they didn't mean for it to happen. Mm-hmm. So if people are like, "Oh, it's not enough," like, go, what? Shut up. Like, they're trying to do something to compensate for the shit that happened, and as a company who's was trying to figure out how to appease people in the first place. Like, if you're sitting there going like, "Oh, it's not enough. Like, they should give me more." Like, you're just being that typical, like, I deserve more than what I actually deserve because I say so attitude. And I absolutely hate that. Like, yes, Sony's shit was fucked up and it needed to be fixed, and they fixed it. And if your account got hacked or whatever, then you deserve compensation. But don't come at me and say it's not enough. Don't come at me and say, "Hey, I put my information on this thing and something bad happened and now I'm super, super mad." The fuck does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. Like, how many times have you put you, Anthony, how many times have you put your credit card information on a website?
I would say multiple times.
Right. Well, internet's a dangerous place. Every time you put your credit card information on anything, every time you use it in public, you take that risk. Mm-hmm. That's part of the risk of putting your information on Xbox or on PlayStation. Now, I'm not saying that Sony is like they haven't done anything wrong. Their servers were so garbage that this happened. Their anti-piracy or whatever implements were garbage. So this was a needed thing. They needed to compensate. And I think that maybe 4 years later is a little too late. Is it 4 years? You said 2011, right?
Yeah, this is 2011. This happened, 5 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years is, or 5 years is a bit much. I will admit that 5 years is, but you also have to, like, I don't think that they were intentionally trying to like avoid having to hand out stuff like that. I think that's primarily just like legal stuff and bureaucracy. And oh my god, typing so much.
Sorry.
I just wouldn't think anything past it. Like I don't think that Sony's like trying to fuck anybody over or trying to figure out a way to not have to pay. Like, I think it's quite literally just bureaucracy bullshit, and they are handling it the best way they can.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I think that is 5 years is 5 years a little late? I would say yeah, it is. But it's something. I mean, it's, you know, it's something that
they could have not done anything. They could have just issued an apology and then went on with their life. But
that's true.
They're doing something. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, they could have just not done anything. I don't think anybody really cared per se because time has passed. And I don't think, like, right now, I don't think people are still clinging on to that issue when it happened. Like, people are not like, oh, they did this in 2011. I'm still angry at Sony. You know, where the hell's my compensation? I don't think anybody's like that right now. I think everybody moved on.
Because most of the stuff that got stolen, or most of the stuff that like was I don't think anyone's accounts were compromised to the point that money was taken out of their account.
Yeah,
because I believe that the hackers, and I could be wrong about this, and if I am wrong, please correct me because I don't ultimately know. But I believe the hackers just wanted to prove a point.
Like all hackers do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and in improving that point, some people's accounts got publicly put out there, and that sucks. But I think the compensation that Sony should have done was like, if an individual's money did get taken out of their account, and that can be proven, then Sony should pay that back, 100%. And I think that the biggest compensation that Sony can do is take all that money that people are paying for fucking PlayStation Plus and put that towards making their servers stronger.
Yeah. So, I guess that's as close to the case in terms of the whole breach that happened with PSN in 2011. Yeah, I mean, there isn't much to say. There really isn't. I think that the only thing I would say is like, I think Sony is better about this nowadays than it was back then, especially when it comes to breaches or compensation for that matter. Now knowing what happened back then, they definitely have found ways to improve their infrastructure as well as their security.
Yeah.
So yeah, thus ends the story of this saga. Also, Kevin Butler. So, going back to Microsoft, now I'm not quite sure if you had any connection or feelings about this company, but Lionhead Studios was shut down this past week from Microsoft. Lionhead Studios are the ones who were making the new Fable game called Fable Legends. It was kind of like D&D. Again, like a third-person view.
Yeah, so I ended up playing the beta. I wasn't, supposed to talk about it because of the NDA and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a great game. If Lionhead Studios wanted to continue as Lionhead Studios, they should not have put into place Fable Legends, or they should have made a completely different game. This game was hard to play and not fun in like a hard way, like Bloodborne or Demon Souls or Dark Souls. They're hard but fair and they're fun. This wasn't fun. This was boring. And sorry, I just got word that I have money in my account now.
Cool. Yes, money.
But yeah, it was not a good game, and Lionhead Studios kind of dropped the ball on making it a good game. They there was constant bullshit about should they release it in a different way, should they release it as a free game, instead of just concentrating on releasing a game that could make some money. And that was the problem, is like, what was the last game Lionhead Studios made before we're going on Fable Legends? Fable 3. How long ago did that fucking come out?
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. I think for me, when I heard Lionhead Studios gone, like I had no personal connection to it, but I do understand like what games that made prior that was a huge, I wouldn't say innovation at the time. Actually, it kind of was. With the Black and White series, Black and White 1 and 2 were huge games that came out that innovated on the like the God mentality of like you're God, you can create mountains, you can tell villagers to go somewhere else, or create waves and kill everybody. I do respect and see for the innovations they did back in the day with those games. Fable 1 I think was also a really good was a good game. Fable 2 was also, I think, good. Fable 3 is okay. But yeah, there was definitely a huge layout between Fable 3 and Fable Legends that we're working on at the moment. And Fable Legends is a game that was not with Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux left Lionhead Studios long ago. I want to say after Fable 3. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong.
The problem with Peter Molyneux is he does a lot of that like promising and building shit up when it's like not as big as he wants it to be.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's definitely, he has that track record. If any indication, just look up Project Milo with the Kinect of Xbox 360, and it's definitely Peter Molyneux is definitely one of those people who do hype up the game a bit more than he should. And he went on to say, my bad, I do sometimes. He needs to calm it down. Now Peter Molyneux still out there. He's working on another game with some other company at the moment. But Lionhead Studios definitely it is definitely. It's always sad to see a game company go down, regardless, because people in there who work for a very long time are now looking for a job. Although it's a bit different in the UK. Apparently, what I've read is like when a company shuts down, they actually give like a good amount of time and they help out the employees that were no longer working there to find other jobs. So
yes, and they kind of give them what's it called when you want to, like, letters of recommendation and all that jazz.
Yeah, definitely. So that's so it's not a complete loss. I do hope these guys find other jobs.
But and in that same vein, Anthony, something that have you seen the documentary I Know That Voice?
You know what? I have not, but I know what it is.
Okay, that's just as important. So, in I Know That Voice, Steve Bloom says that there's a joke amongst him and other voice actors that says when you finish a job, you basically are fired from that job, because the entertainment industry is a fickle mistress. You cannot assume that when you are an entertainer that you're going to immediately continue to have that job.
Right.
And the only reason I bring this up is because and the only way to bring it up in this way is that if you go to work for a company, a video game company, you are working for an entertainment company. And at any moment, that entertainment company can just crash. You have to understand that. You cannot just assume that everything's going to be okay all the time. You cannot assume that you're always going to have that job.
Yeah.
So, as I feel bad for the people who may have lost their jobs working for Lionhead Studios, that was a risk you took. Like, I'll give you an example of, like, because people might be listening to me being like, that's cold-hearted. Well, we're entertainers. I do streaming. I'm going to try to do YouTube and stuff like that. If I become successful, like, let's say I'm making a lot of money just doing YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. Or streaming, for that matter.
Right.
I have to save and build credit because there's no promise that tomorrow I'll have that. There's no promise that I can keep going for years and years and years and expect it to just keep working. It doesn't work like that. So, so again, as I feel bad that they lost their job, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it, and they shouldn't either. And nobody should nobody should be sitting there like, oh, the poor guys who put, sorry, I'm playing Shovel Knight and I'm trying to not. Oh God. I got God mode on, and like when the auto scroll parts come up, I fuck up. Anyway, I played this game so many times that should not happen, but it did. I was like, I stopped talking for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think it's great that Lionhead Studios is taking the action to make sure that the employees are in good condition. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot stress enough. It is a situation where you essentially asked for it. You put yourself in that position because you wanted to, because you loved video games that much.
Right. There's definitely something to be said when it comes to, in this profession, that jobs, it's like a circus wheel. It's like a merry-go-round. You get on for a ride, you get off, you go back on and off, and it's same thing every so often. You get back in line like everybody else. You get your ticket. You go on the ride, and you get a job.
Yeah. Like I said, it sucks that it sucks that that's an entertainment industry, that you have to kind of play to that song, because if you're an entertainer and you want to entertain, like let's say you are a game developer and that's your dream job, right? And you finally get that fucking position. You're like, yes, I get to do what I've always wanted to do. And then all of a sudden, like, that company goes down and you're out of a job. That sucks. That really does. But you kind of took that risk. Like, I can't feel too bad. I mean, trust me, it's not as cold-hearted as it sounds. People need to kind of put into context that this is just the way that it is. And I hope that all those employees that basically lost their job from Lionhead Studios going down find a new position somewhere.
Right.
But I cannot feel bad for it. I just can't.
Yeah. So. That's cool. I mean, like, it's to each your own when it comes to these issues, but definitely I think that Lionhead Studios, as it is shut down. The games they made at the time were pretty monumental, but because of the shutdown, the employees of it, I still do wish those guys a job. Yeah. So no doubt. So we got two more stories and we'll end the show real quickly. So Overwatch recently came out, and because there were some leaks that were confirmed from IGN, and then she just came out and said, all right, here's full details. So Overwatch is and that finally announced they have an open beta coming to PC and PS4 and Xbox One. It's going to be the open beta. It's going to come in early May. The launch date of the game is coming out May 24th. And if you pre-ordered the game, which I'm planning to do, I think soon actually. And if you pre-order the game, you will get in the open beta early at May 3rd and 4th. Plus, you get to invite a friend. of your choosing. And for those who are wondering when the open beta is going to be, it's going on May 5th to the 9th. So, yeah.
Oh, we get 2 days early.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna going to pre-order. I'm not just because I want to get in early on the beta, but the game is really freaking cool. I did not realize how close it is to actually being released. So yeah, holy crap! It is upon us. Finally.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I was actually talking to my buddy the other day about like getting it because him and I were talking about because we haven't even played it, but we know how much fun it actually is.
Definitely. It's yeah. I adore this game, as you might have seen in previous podcast episodes. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. It is like TF2 meshed in with some like League elements meshed in with some other stuff. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah.
It's
I
awesome.
watched a lot of Funhouse play it, and it looked awesome.
For sure.
Funhouse being a YouTube group, in case anyone doesn't know.
Yep. So for those who are wondering, there may be some Overwatch footage on this Twitch channel soon-ish. And we'll end this on the last story of the day. So, Bill Gates did an AMA recently. And, as AMAs goes, any question that's asked of Bill Gates, Bill Gates answers. So, I'm not quite sure if Bill Gates really knows what he's talking about or when he kind of agreed to it, but here's the thing. As you watch The Rock and Bill Gates talk to each other at an old Xbox original press conference, yes, this actually happened. So Bill Gates was asked, Mr. Gates, can we please have another Age of Empires? Not sure if this is in your department, but I figured I'd ask since you were here. Thanks. Edit. Bill, please, I know you can see this. Edit 2. First goal, thanks stranger, just showed the power of Reddit. One of the most powerful people on the planet came here to discuss humiliation issues and want to discuss video games. And his response, I will look into this. How many empires do you need? So, like, I don't know if... See, here's the thing about Bill Gates. Like, I don't know if he's trolling. I don't know if that's really the real Bill Gates. But, like, I feel like somebody came up, just, like, he heard, like, the Age of Empires. And it's like, oh, I know that thing, like, years ago. Or maybe he does. I don't know. Who knows? I just find it a bit odd, but at the same time, entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know. People get attached to things that I don't think that they should, or at least I don't think they should get attached as close as they do. And as much as I want, like, Shovel Knight's one of my favorite games. I love this. I adore this game to death. But as much as I want the King Knight and Spectre Knight DLCs, I would never sit there and like contact Yacht Club Games and just like, when's it happening? Now?
I think the funny thing about the whole thing is like this guy literally asked Bill Gates, who I don't think has a foot or has a thing with the gaming part of Microsoft. I think he's just there for like just to, I don't know what he does anymore. The man's rich beyond.
He's a figurehead more than anything, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Right, what does Bill Gates do for Microsoft?
He doesn't work there anymore.
So nothing?
He owns a mass majority of it.
Okay. Because apparently he did an AMA. This is what Anthony and I are talking about right now. Did an AMA and some guy was like, "We need more Age of Empires." And
yeah, and he was like, "I'll look into that."
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out if he has any pool to actually get that done.
No.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Confirmed. Confirmed. He has no pool at all, even though he is one of the richest men in the universe. Oh wow, that was great.
No longer is he not the CEO, but the person that he made the CEO after him is no longer the CEO, and there's another guy that's the CEO.
Okay.
So
okay, that's what I thought because Anthony said that, and I was like, I don't think he can do that. So, all right. Well,
confirmed. All right, awesome. And with that, I think we're going to end the show. So before we end the show, Greg, where can I find you on the internet?
You can find me on Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter. I don't know why I said Tumblr, because I don't ever use Tumblr. Sorry, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Chub Rock Geek. I occasionally post things to Snapchat at Chub Rock Snap. And you can find me every Saturday on on Twitch. If you search Half Empty Energy Tank. As a matter of fact, tonight I will be streaming on there. It'll be my show, and we're going to be doing a Dreamcast night.
Oh, sick. What games you be playing?
A lot of stuff I've never played before, stuff I have played. We're just going to play a bunch of Dreamcast tonight.
Sick. All right, cool. Awesome. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that I and Greg do sometimes at missionstartpodcast.com. Hang on a minute. Okay, so if you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy watching this on Twitch or on your YouTube or listening to it on iTunes and Stitcher, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as on our site in the podcast section for Mission Start Podcast. If you enjoy convention talk, if you enjoy us talking about previous conventions we've been to, and or things of that ilk, definitely check out the Conover. It's also on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you enjoy comic books, movies, entertainment, I think the next one's going to be very interesting because freaking the Civil War trailer came out this past week. So definitely I suggest you guys check out the Rollin' 20s hosted by Jeremy Wilson on our site, as well as iTunes and Stitcher. I'm pretty sure that have something to say about that trailer on the next week's episode. So, with that being said, again, be sure to hit that follow button if you haven't already on this Twitch channel so you can be notified every morning at this time at 11 a.m. for Mission Start Podcast, as well as our other shows that we plan for the future on this channel. But with that being said, this is gonna be it for today, and yeah, we will see you guys next time.
Bye bye.